In this third and last video of Unit 1 about the economy, we are going to talk about the different economic systems that exist in the world and also about the labor market. So when we talk about an economic system, is the way in which a nation manages its resources, goods and services. So basically how a state manages its economy. So the decisions that a state makes in order to have one type or another of economy. We can start with the model that nowadays is almost disappeared. That is the communist system, that we can also call it a planned economy, versus the capitalist system that is called a market economy. So in a communist system, because communist is more about like the political system that is related with the planned economy. So this system appeared for the first time in Russia after its revolution in 1979 and after the expansion of the liberation of territories previously occupied by Germany in World War II. Russia or the Soviet Union expanded this model to many countries in Europe, and later its influence expanded to other territories in Asia, Africa, and even the American continent. Nowadays it just exists in a few countries, and we can say that maybe just really in North Korea, and it remains completely as a planned economy. In the rest of countries, in Vietnam, Laos, China and Cuba, although they are nominally, officially communist, they have a mix of planned economy and market economy. So in a communist system, the state is the owner of all the means of production. Okay? The means of production, los medios de producción en español, are all the things that are required to produce something. Yeah, so capital, as like financial capital, and also physical capital, such as machinery, buildings, land. Yeah, so the state is the owner. The state, in name, as as like a representation of all its citizens, is the owner of the means of production. So owns everything that is needed to produce things and provide services, and then it decides how to use this means of production. So basically what goods produce and what services provide by a system of a planned economy. So since there is no market in which there is an open demand and an open supply, in supply as it is in a market economy, in which there are different agents offering their services or goods. So the state has to decide whether where or how they should use its resources. Yeah. So how much to produce of a certain good, which prices the products will have, the salaries of the workers. Yeah. So in general, it's like how to allocate its resources. Yeah. So imagine, every country has a more or less limited amount of resources. Yes. So in a planned economy, the state decides if imagine that they have a limited amount of wood, so how to use that wood, which things produce, how exactly, by whom, where, yeah, which quality, who is going to receive it, yeah. So the goal of this system was to achieve social equality, yes. So this system comes after the political theories, mainly of Karl Marx. And they defended that by this way, like a fairer distribution of wealth that will really cover the needs of all the citizens will be attained. Yeah. So if they consider that if there is no one as an intermediary between the means of production and the citizens that need those services and goods, like they will be more available for everybody. So this is a very, explaining this in this short version is oversimplifying it, obviously. So I will include another video that tries to explain it a little bit more in depth. So basically what you have to understand is that in a communist system or in a planned economy, the state controls the economy and takes the decisions. And in its most radical version, there is no private property. In reality, not even in the Soviet Union, in its most glorious day, the private property had been completely abolished. Yeah, so it still existed in terms of like a small property. Well, and then we have the capitalist system or market economy that nowadays is the one that exists or is the base of the model that exists in most countries in the world. So in this model, the market regulates the economy. Yeah, so it's based on the ideas of Adam Smith and David Ricardo at the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century, that were based on theories in which the state should not intervene in the economy. So the state should only create the perfect context in which economic exchanges could take place. Yes, so the state should be in charge of security, on justice, on infrastructures, like create and maintain infrastructures. So then private companies and individuals could decide on their agreements according, economic agreements according to the law of supply and demand. Yeah. So this system, with many variations, is what exists in most countries in the world nowadays. Yeah. So in this system, the means of production are mainly owned by private companies. Yeah. So the prices and salaries of people are set by the market. So are set by how many people want that and how many people offer or supply that a service or good. Yeah. So the goal of the system, obviously, is to obtain the maximum benefit for companies. Yeah. The theories of Adam Smith stated that when individuals or companies sought for their own benefit, economic benefit, at the end everybody benefited from that. It's a way of seeing it. Yeah. So obviously things are not black and white. Yeah, and like an absolute communist system with an absolute planned economy, it's very difficult to exist and actually to make it work well. And the best example is that the planned economies that existed in the second part of the 20th century ended up collapsing. But also the other extreme, in reality, it doesn't work. Not even in the United States. It's known as a very capitalist and liberal country, but even there, not all the means of production are owned by private companies. The state owns and controls some means of production. The state intervenes in the economy and in the market, and limits the market. For example, there are laws to prevent monopolies or to prevent oligopolies, or in general to regulate from abuse from the companies or from the banks. So a somehow middle solution appeared after the world economic crisis of 1929. That was the most famous one until the crisis of 2008. We don't know still how famous, but pretty famous is going to be this 2020 economic crisis. Yeah, and so this model that is called the Keynesian system, because of one of his theorists, John Maynard Keynes, like this. It appeared as a proposition to make a mixture between a capitalist system and or like a market economy and a planned economy. So in this mixed model, the state intervenes in the economy, and passes legislation to control certain sectors of the market, to, as I was saying, to prevent abuse, creates a lot of public economies in strategic sectors, and in general social policies to promote employment, to promote, for example, like better working conditions, like programs of economic development of certain regions. So that is in reality more or less what exists nowadays in European countries, for example. Yeah. So although it is clearly a market economy, it's a market economy that is intervened. Okay, it's a market economy in which the state is constantly overlooking and taking decisions to direct the economy in a prosperous way. Yeah. So the goal of this system is to achieve social equality in a way that by limiting, this system believes in the market economy, but believes that the market economy needs to be regulated. Yeah. So more or less in reality, all countries in the world that have market economies have somehow these state-intervened market economies to a higher or lesser extent. In Europe, so although this theory was put in practice in the United States and in Europe after the crisis of 1929, and it continued in different ways, we can say that is in Europe what it has remained for a longer period of time. Okay, where states have feel more responsible of regulating the economy, but everywhere, okay, almost everywhere. And if, I don't know, in other in Asia, Africa, Latin America, states are constantly trying to regulate the economy in order to make it more prosperous, so to prevent economic crisis. Yeah. So nowadays, with, for example, with all like the plan that is has just been announced to try to address the problems of the COVID-19. It's a perfect example of this Keynesian system, okay, of this intervention of the state on a market economy, So they inject a lot of money in a way of like different programs to try to promote that from the public administration, but mainly from private companies, the economy recovers. In many cases, like this, what occurs is that these systems could not work as well as expected, yeah. But at the end, we can say that any of these three systems are perfect, So at the end, a mixture and a constant evolution and revision is what is needed. And then, what in reality also we have is when we talk about a capitalist system, is a neoliberal system. So it's the new version of capitalist system, This name was created in the 1990s. It is basically a renewed version of the capitalist system. So as a reaction of the Keynesian models that existed in the United States and Europe, and that had been copied in other parts of the world, some states started to deregulate the economic system, to reduce the control of the state on the economy, like reduce for example, to privatize. We were talking about that in class this week. To privatize public companies, to in general, to promote private investment, and just try to reduce the size of the state. So now this second version of the market economy is what is the tendency that, for example, we find in the United States and in some European countries to a lesser extent. Okay, but at the end, always there's this give and take in which there's a tendency in a way, but at the same time, like regulation always exists and all the time proves that it's needed. After the crisis of 2008, when like that it was basically provoked by a deregulation of the economy, it became evident that a higher regulation of the economy was needed. But at the end, like all that regulation that was made so evident that was needed, like has just been done unto a certain extent. Well, this is a very complex topic. And then the second part of the unit is about, the second part of this video is about the labor market. Yeah, so we are constantly hearing about like jobs, creation of jobs, destruction of jobs, unemployment, employment plans. And this is so important because as we saw when we talked about the 3 economic agents, people, families get their income basically by salaries. So without a job, they are really in trouble. So when we talk about the labor market, first we can divide it between active population and inactive population. Yeah. So active population refers to all people that is at the age of working. Yes, so they are working age. So usually they are over 18 or 16 and until 65. Yeah. So that are working or want to work. Yeah, so they are unemployed. So they would like to work, but they are not working. Yeah, so all that group is the active population. Yeah, and then we have the inactive population. It refers to people that are not working because they are not at the age of working, because they are less than 18 or 16, or they are older than 65. They don't want to work for some reason. Yeah. So they could be students, they could be pensioners, they could be housewives or homemakers, amos or amas de casa, yeah, or people of independent means. We mean people that have other ways of income that don't require money. For example, if you live off rents that you inherited, or I don't know, you are very lucky, you won the lottery. You don't need to work, lucky you. Yeah, so those all will be in the inactive population sector. And then we have, so in order to analyze this, we have a series of rates. Yeah. So we have the activity rate, that is the percentage of people that could work, that could provide work in a country, that is available to work or is already working. Yeah. So this rate gives us an interesting information about what are the possibilities of the country, okay, if the country has a lot of people that is available to work or that has a lot of dependent people, yeah? So if the country is very old, so if the people is very aged, the active population will be very low. And also if the country is very young, it has a population pyramid that is very wide at the bottom. Yeah, the active population is low, but the prospects to the future are, to increase its active population. So we make it by, we multiply the number of active population by 100 and we divide it by the total population. And then we have the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate, we get it from the total of the active population. Yeah, so what is the percentage of people working out of all the people that potentially could be working? Yeah. So we take the number of people that are unoccupied, we multiply by 100, and then we divide it by the active population. So an interesting thing when we talk about the labor market is that in a market economy as we live in, salaries and relations are regulated by the law of supply and demand. Yes, so the supply of jobs is provided by companies or the state or the public administrations, and then in some cases the workers themselves where they self-employed, cuando son autónomos. And then the demand is composed by the people that want to work. Yeah. So in order to understand how this performs, we have 3 agents. Yeah. So we have the government, that is the one who regulates, creates the framework. Yes, so regulates, for example, like how many hours we should work, what like type of contracts should exist, the minimum wage, working conditions. It's like, I don't know what they were regulating, for example, now with working from home. Yes, so all this is, the state is the responsible of passing the laws and also of surveilling, of controlling that these laws are complied. And then we have, on the one hand, the trade unions, los sindicatos, that are the organizations that represent workers, so the workers use them when they have to negotiate with the government and also with the employers. Yeah. So trade unions appeared in the 19th century. We will study that next year, and became a very important factor to understand, like for the workers to gain basic rights that we have. For example, working 8 hours or having paid holidays. These achievements wouldn't have been attained without the fight of these trade unions. And then on the other hand, we have the employers' associations that in Spanish are called la patronal, or las patronales, that are the organizations that defend the interests of the employers. Yeah? So they also negotiate with the government and with the representatives of the trade unions. Yeah? So basically, in their negotiations, they try to have the best conditions for their business, for their economic activities, like better conditions in like regarding taxes, receive economic subsidies, labor reforms that benefit them. For example, the labor reforms that took place some years ago. That reduced the money that employers had to pay when they fired someone. So, there are many things that are related with the labor market, and that although there are strong regulations about them, still exist, such as child labor, workers' exploitation, discrimination against women. You know how women on average earn 25% less than men, or in general the problem of unemployment. Even with like all kinds of measures that governments take, these problems still exist. So the only solution is just like to keep trying to fight them, and invest money and effort on trying to address these problems. So with this, we finish with the Unit 1 about economy, and then we will move to Unit 2, in which we start with the primary sector.